actually implement DRGs, because what I believe is that you need the coders, you need someone to do the data analysis, uh, record the data. So there is some, the administrative cost will obviously increase.
Yeah.
So
The cost, I think most of the cost is the coding.
coding costs.
Most of the cost is the coding. For, you see, if you have a kind of case mix center or agency, of course, you need, I don't know, 10 person to receive the data and to group them and to send back the result, okay? But that is not so big.
Yes.
The main problem in human resources, you must have coders in each hospital. You cannot do another way. Of course, in Europe and in the States, you have private company specialized in coding. We have contract with the hospital, and they come once a month or, you see, once a week, and they do externally the coding. But you have to pay. The hospital is paying for that. So it's, I think really the resource limitation is with the coding in each hospital. The problem is coding seems very easy for one center. But you see, in Indonesia, for instance, they have more than 2,000 hospitals. How many hospitals in India? More than that. Necessarily, there are 250 million inhabitants. You are 1,500,000,000 or 400, I don't know. So, you see, the cost is here. The cost of the implementation. Be clear between implementation and pilot. That's different. Pilot is easy. Implementation is difficult. Okay?
That's normally the argument which is while when researching on this is one of the against argument which I've read most of the places, that the overall total cost of the delivery of healthcare sometimes suddenly shot up drastically with the introduction of due to the high administrative cost.
What will drastically, what increase, decrease?
The administrative cost of implementing any changes in the insurance system with the DRGs.
Yes,
so
it will.
Like, is it true or not?
It will not. Yeah, it will not increase. How to say? It will not increase drastically the cost. For, you see, you have all the spending for the healthcare system, and even in less developed country, it's a big cost. Okay, it's already a big cost. People are working and so on. So yes, it is. Either it will increase the cost, or it is an investment for the future.
It's a capital investment, I think.
That it depends upon what.
How do you look at the cost?
Which word you use?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, but it's little compared to the total. But yes, you need some for the implementation. Okay, that's
a different thing.
Be clear between the implementation and the pilot. You see, the pilot, you have just 10 hospitals, as you say, so it's nothing. It doesn't increase nothing.
Just anything. Want to ask the same question which he raised.
0.01%.
The same question, but I'm just putting it in a different perspective. Partly agreeing with this question, because I'm asking asking the question is case mix required, or what is the what is the use, that what are the common problems in implementing case mix? I'm under the impression that case mix must be there. So the question I want to ask after that is that what kind of ambitions can developing countries have, or resource poor settings have, in the use of case mix? Because most of the discussion jumps directly to funding, and you have already pointed out so many other things, from service scheduling to service design to these things. So in your experience, what would you recommend could be interim?
Yes, I will not recommend. I have never recommended to start by the use for funding. Yeah. I think internal management, benchmarking, you see, appropriateness of care.
Care, definitely.
Okay.
Utilization.
Those criteria like that, and I think I will insist as well as how you can use the input data to DRG for quality.
Quality, exactly.
For, you see, readmission and things like that. I don't think that, and you see, I have said that what has been done formally in most of the country was to contain cost.
Yeah, that's right.
And I am not sure it has contained cost. So, or can be said, on the opposite, if you are in a situation where you increase your spending,
Yes.
you see, the appropriateness of the increase can be controlled by case mix. Yeah,
That's the situation in India right
yeah,
now.
yeah, of course. So,
Or if you're having an
it is,
ambition.
I think appropriateness of funding
Okay.
can be a good criteria.
Okay.
Yeah. In a situation where the spending is increasing.
Okay. In the hospital, you know, I'm looking at just as hospitals because most of us are in that environment. So, what would be an appropriate thing? For example, you know, I understand resource budgeting versus allocation, that issue, which is actually at the top, at the CEO level and the finance department level. But for practicing professionals, what would be a good pitch to justify case mix at that level? Because
they will have the case mix of their department.
Okay.
And if they are able to link each patient to a physician, they can have the case mix of the physician.
Okay. Okay. So
and that is not necessarily too difficult.
So it's a profiling exercise.
Can be, yeah. Can be used for that.
Okay, great. Okay.
I am not sure it's very popular with the physician, but
Don't be. Unless you want to anonymize and use it, but that's a different thing. Okay.
Yeah, but yes, and the benchmarking, if you follow our 3M colleague and say 10 hospitals can be so 10 hospitals with the population of India, not of all India, but a subset of India, you see, can be easily more than any European country. You see, the biggest European country is Germany, 80 million inhabitants.
Okay.
That's the biggest. France is less. So, UK is less. You see, the biggest thing is that. So, yeah, I think 10 hospitals is wonderful. The pilot, yes, I think it will be a good thing to try a pilot and to send back you see the result to the people and say, well, you are winning, so you're for, you are losing, so you're against. That's life. Huh? But, of course, before doing that, you don't know. You see, the problem is that you move to winner and loser, but before you don't know who are the losers, who are the winners. So, for the future search, it is not very good. It's not very good. But, so, that is always the fact that what are we going to embark something which will be added to what was before? The question is that before, of course, you have nothing. But if you are pleased not knowing anything,
then anything is better.
Why not? If you are pleased by this situation, keep on. And so, other question? No other question? But so, for a pilot, do it simple. Do it simple, and I think, yeah. You have same day surgery in your hospital? Yeah.
Sometimes. Emergency.
Emergency?
Yeah, emergency.
And emergency can be discussed as well.
Yeah.
To be put in the pilot, you see.
Yes.
It may be better to wait for some time before including emergency. Take it easily, you see, on the. But if you select like that, you see, you will sure it will work. You are sure it will work. If you see, I think same day is not clear, and emergency, it will depend upon the system, but can be, you can have a lot of very small emergency and very severe emergency in the same department.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because this issue is here, especially in Mumbai, that emergency departments are overcrowded, and when there are poor outcomes, the patient's relatives sometimes even unleash violence on the doctors.
Mhm.
And this is basically because there is no case mix. I'm just putting it. I'm putting it at the extreme statement, saying that the statement you just made. We don't know how many of these patients, the appropriateness of approaching the emergency department. How come they have overload in the emergency overcrowding? Is because the people who need to come to the emergency alone must come to the emergency department. So some say sort of case mix. I don't know. Is anybody working on exclusively emergency case mix? Like
Yes, the Australian, it's very hard for, they have a classification for emergency since, I don't know, 10 years maybe.
I see.
And they realized that it was not good, and they are working to produce a new one.
Okay.
And the new one seems relatively interesting. But it's very hard emergency, very hard, very hard. It's not typically acute care inpatient.
I see.
The first, if you want to start in a public hospital.
Sorry?
First step.
First step between public and private. So,
No, in one public hospital, her hospital.
In one public hospital. Your hospital, you mean?
Yes.
So do it. Please do it.
Yeah.
Yes, start. What would be the first step?
The first step? No, it's disappear. So the first step is, why are you going to do that? So are you going to do that for internal management or just to compare the budget, you see, to know for the management? So that's the first thing. But you must have an agreement at the level of the hospital with the physicians, the managers, and so on. So you see potential use of all this maybe is better, you see. The first thing, potential use. So you will choose management planning, okay? So episode definition, inpatient multi-day. I will recommend inpatient multi-day, okay? So available data, I don't know which data you have. You have coded data? Not at all. So you have to choose coding data and organize training, okay? And so that, you see, you need for some time. So it's not necessary to go their way, you see. And so you can start with clinical data. The choice for diagnosis is relatively easy, ICD-10, but you have to choose a procedure classification, having in mind that this procedure will put you in the hands of a grouper. So you see, that's the first step you have to do. And I think so. You see, for now, the critical point, no, you can start a training in ICD-10 on one hand, but you have to have a process at the level of the hospital to choose the procedure classification.
We can help because when you're starting a case mix center, from there we can advise.
I think the choice is easy from my point of view. Hopefully, you're English speaker, you're native English speaker. No? Yes, you are. You speak English better than me, huh? So you're native English speaker. And so the choice is between so-called ICD-10 procedure classification system, PCS, or ICD-10 CM for procedure, okay? That means that you will take American grouper, which is not bad. Huh? And then the other one is to take ACHI, Australian Classification of Health Intervention, which means will go to Australian grouper.
So we have somebody from 3M. What could they help in the hospital, public hospital, not for me? 3M, you know, the Post-it company, Post-it, they discovered it, but they are the ones commercially doing this work.
So as John rightly said that we are looking at checking the data quality at various hospitals, and we are looking at a
No, no.
set of
Yeah, in this if public hospital.
Step one,
so
define
it can be
the
public
why.
private both.
Yes.
Okay, so it's not
Why?
it's not
What?
limited
Who?
to that. No, so not for everyone. Okay, so we are looking at doing a pilot. It's not about small or big. It's about that who are currently doing the coding in India. So if you look at, I'm from Delhi. So in Delhi, some of the major hospitals like AIMS, RML, they do the coding. But if you go to the smaller hospital, they don't do the coding. Okay, so it's only some of the big ones are doing the medical coding. But again, it depends on state to state also.
No, but would 3M like to support them,
In what way?
providing your whatever you're doing there in Delhi?
We're not doing anything currently. Okay, so let me be very clear that currently in India we're not doing anything.
No, not in India. What I'm just saying, if they are willing to go back and you know, not overnight, but at least spread the word over process of time. They speak to their colleagues. They talk about what they heard here.